this, maybe. Seems like a good level. Okay. Hello, everyone. Hope you are all doing well. It's a nice Saturday morning here. And yeah, I just thought I'd sit down like usual and, talk about, I guess give a quick life update and then just talk a little bit about some of the books that I've been reading and what I've been up to. I don't have a script or anything, so I'm literally just going to talk to the camera. But honestly, I kind of like that, not planning things out and just kind of sitting down. It also forces me to hopefully be a little bit more concise. So with that, let me actually just get into it. So in terms of life update, let's see, what's kind of been going on. I haven't been doing as much traveling. I have just sort of been here, not doing much travel. One thing that I've been appreciating is, so I live pretty close to a few universities. I live pretty close to Rutgers University and then also to Princeton University here in New Jersey. And then obviously I'm quite close to New York City. So I've been trying my best to, take advantage of being near university campuses and take advantage of having sort of like events and especially like political events, but also literary events so accessible to me. I know that it's a crazy time that we're living in right now. So I think that, being able to enter those spaces, being able to be around other young people, I think has been very important to me and something that I'm very appreciative and grateful for. I guess I would also just say that, we are just living through really disturbing and sort of frightening times, and I think that I also just want to express again sort of just like gratitude for this channel, and I don't really care too much about subscriber count or views or anything like that, but just knowing that I put these videos out and I always get really positive and supportive feedback, and it just makes me feel like I'm a part of this sort of like community. And I think in frightening times and in times where there's a lot of uncertainty and things feel very fragmented, that when we can lean on each other and lean on community, it sort of just carries us all up. And so I'm just very grateful for this community. I'm grateful for you all. So thank you for watching. And but anyway, so not too much travel, but have been trying to just go out to these university campuses and go to a lot of events in New York and then also like around me. Business stuff has been pretty good, I would say. I'm still battling a lot of uncertainty, just I've basically been doing this for about 6 months now, and things are actually going quite well, which I'm very grateful for. But it's kind of like when I see all of my friends who are either working in tech or, going to grad school or, pursuing other paths that are much more structured. And I think there's just always this sort of like feeling of like, what am I doing? And sort of like navigating that sort of uncertainty. But I guess that's also just the reality of, taking this sort of venture into entrepreneurship and trying that out and trying to start one's own business. And I guess that's just like the part of the process. I think any sort of founder is probably going to feel that or sort of go through that. And I think that maybe part of it is just building up that resilience to navigate that uncertainty, and hopefully that carries over into whatever I choose to do next. And I also just feel very lucky because I kind of do just sort of have this year or this sort of like indefinite period of time where luckily I can support myself with the business stuff, and I can kind of just take my time and be intentional about where I think I want to take things next, whether that's return back to a job or continue down this sort of business route, or try and go all in on the business stuff, or whatever it is that I want to do. So I do feel very grateful and very fortunate, especially in this time where there's just so much uncertainty around people's careers and around like job security and everything like that. So I'm very grateful, but I'm also wrestling with a lot of uncertainty and not really doubt, but just like uncertainty. And I think also the other thing I'll say is that it is sort of just helpful to kind of take a step back and think about, okay, in the grand scheme of life, I think having a year of exploration and of, just trying out, entrepreneurship, I think that, I think it's unlikely that I'll like look back and like sort of regret that. So I do try and sort of have that sort of global or like long-term perspective of like, when I'm like 45 or 47 or 48, I just can't really imagine that I look back and, be like, oh man, I'm really upset that I took a year to explore. So I guess in terms of like personal and professional life, that's kind of what things have been like. But like I mentioned, I do feel very lucky that I've been able to go to a lot of university events and also a lot of like just like book events and be in literary spaces. So I'll talk a little bit about that. maybe the first one is about 2 weeks ago. My friend, her name is Ali Watkins, actually wrote this book, and it was released in the US like around like 2 weeks ago, a little less than 2 weeks ago. This one is called The Next One Is For You, a true story of guns, country, and the IRA's secret American army, and follows the story of a group of Irish Americans supporting the IRA from Philadelphia and smuggling sort of like guns and weaponry and all that into Northern Ireland. So I haven't fully read the book, but I did go to her talk in New York City, in Brooklyn, and it was awesome. And it's just crazy when like one of your friends writes a book. And yeah, I was fortunate to kind of see her during the process at some points while she was writing this over the last, I guess, like 2-ish years. So it's just, it's just incredible to kind of see it come or see things sort of like full circle, and now kind of just like literally be holding this book that I saw her working on. So congratulations, Ali, if you ever watch this video. Yeah, it's just awesome. And if anyone's sort of interested in sort of Irish American, specifically Irish American diaspora, involvement in the IRA specifically, along the East Coast and specifically with Philly, definitely give this book feel free to check out this book. And yeah, and also support my friend Ali Watkins. Yeah. Okay, what do we have next? Okay. And so the second book that I picked up is the Tombs of Attawan by Ursula K. Le Guin, and this is the second book in the Earthsea series. And I went to Portland a few weeks ago, and I knew that I wanted to pick up some more of Le Guin's works, and yeah, I picked up this one and a few others, and also one of her nonfiction books. But really, just wanted to pick these up to sort of support her, and because I was in Portland, it just felt like I should really do that. This book, though, sort of follows the first book follows the story of like Jed and his sort of like wrestling with pride and identity and his sort of like becoming like a mage. This book is focused on a young girl called Tanar, and she's basically taken from her home around the age of 5 and brought into this like a palace or this sort of like ancient village, ancient town, to become a priestess and to sort of like guard this sort of like legendary area called the Tombs of Attawan, or this like ancient area called the Tombs of Attawan. And it really is kind of like less about I feel like the first book was much more about Jed and him sort of like being extremely like gifted and coming to terms with his with sort of the other side of being gifted, which is pride and almost like narcissism and sort of like jealousy. And this book, I think, kind of like takes a slightly different approach. Obviously, the protagonist is also a woman in this case, but it's less about kind of like being given gifts, and it's much more about being given, I want to say like power, because she is sort of taken from her home and becomes this priestess, and by the time she's like 14 or 15, she's sort of like the sort of highest power in the land, and everyone sort of obeys her. And so it really explores sort of like her identity, what it's like to sort of be given not really like artificial power, but like power that's not because of your own like talents or because of your own like innate work or anything like that, but literally you're just like brought into this position, and then all of a sudden you sort of become the ruler of the land, and everyone sort of follows you, and sort of like dealing with that, but also the identity of someone who's taken from and in a lot of ways sort of shielded from society, and sort of what it's like to sort of grow up in that sort of sheltered environment. And then of course throughout the story she then meets Jed, and they sort of come together and learn from each other. And I guess I don't really want to spoil it, but this book definitely feels much different from the first one, which is a Wizard of Earthsea, I believe. Yeah, I think I have that correct. A Wizard of Earthsea. And obviously, yeah, centers around a woman protagonist, but I think it was a little bit slower paced, but also I think I just really enjoyed it because like one of the central themes is also just like what it's like to sort of be a child that is meant to sort of suppose or is meant to take on a lot of these like adult roles and is sort of expected to sort of be this adult, and in a lot of ways, in like a weird way, honestly, I feel like that sort of parallels a lot of like what I'm going through right now. I feel like I'm sort of like at the age where I'm no longer really, well, I still feel young, and I got a haircut and I feel like I look a little bit younger as well, but I do kind of feel like I'm sort of like at the age where I'm starting to be seen much more by society as like an adult, and expected, like, and with that, much more expectations are, being placed on me. And even with this whole like entrepreneurial thing that I'm doing, it's kind of like, I guess I'm sort of like getting to the age where, I'm just expected to kind of have things figured out a little bit more. And I know that that's like more imposed than it is, like actually, that it's more sort of imposed like externally than the actual truth. Like, no one, there's no like gun to my head that's saying that I have to have like, the next 10 or 20 years of my life figured out. But I think that, a lot of what the protagonist in here kind of like navigates is this, guess the innocence of childhood, but then also being in a position where people are seeing you as an adult or expecting you to act as an adult. I guess obviously the difference here is that she kind of like she has the final say on things. She's like the highest sort of ruler of the land, and people have to obey her. And unfortunately, I cannot say that the world just like obeys me the same way. But I do think that I could relate in a lot of ways, and sort of like just like holding on to, just like the childlike cravings, one's inner child. And not wanting to let that go, and also not wanting to just like accept the reality of the real world, accept the realities of like financial security, accept the realities of like work, and just like this like deep longing to just like play and remain a child. And I just really feel that, and like for this phase of life that I'm in, it's like I've been so lucky and fortunate to have tremendous experiences where I feel like my like inner child and like whimsy and like wanderlust has really been brought out. And it's almost like as I do make this transition over the next few years into full adulthood, it's like, well, I just want to make sure that I don't lose sight of those things. And I don't want to, I guess there's a part of me that wants to, keep that inner child alive and bright, and sort of feed it and nurture it and keep it alive, because I think that there's just an element of play that I just always want to sort of have, regardless of how old I am. But yeah, so I read this one, really good, and I plan to read the next one, which is The Farthest Shore. You can see it here. But yeah, I'm actually, I don't know when I'm going to get to this one, because there are a few other fiction books that I picked up that, I want to talk about as well. So one of the events that I went to is at this independent bookshop called McNally Jackson. If folks have heard of it, it's pretty popular in New York. There's like a bunch of different stores in Soho, in in downtown Brooklyn, downtown Brooklyn, in Soho, on Prince Street. There's one in the Rockefeller Center. There's also one in Seaport. There's also one in Williamsburg. So super big, but independent. And the best thing about it, or one of my favorite things about it, is that they will host events every, basically like 3 or 4 every week. And the events, they're super cheap. It's like $5. You go, and they also just give you that $5 back in the form of like a voucher. And so, but they bring in like really like, sort of world-class writers, professors. It's really, really just like awesome space to be a part of. If you live in like the East Coast, or you live in, and you happen to be traveling to New York, or if you live in the New York area, would highly, highly recommend. I love it. It's probably one of my favorite things to do. But anyway, so the sort of owner of the bookshop, Sarah McNally, was doing an interview with Hisham Matar, who is a poet. Sorry, not a poet. He's a writer, and also a professor at Barnard. Well, maybe he actually has written poetry. Anyway, his writing is very poetic and flowery anyway, so that's probably why it came to mind. But she sat down in conversation with him, and so he wrote this book called My Friends, that I think it came out last year. So he was just like reading a few excerpts from the book, and then they just sort of like had a conversation about it, and sort of explores sort of a lot of these like I think like meditations on life around like friendship, around meditations on life around like friendship, around like love, around loneliness, all of that. It essentially like talks about the story of these two boys who grew up in Libya, and then who moved to London. I think they met in Paris, and then lived together in London, and explores their sort of friendship. I only just started the book, so I guess I'm not really an expert or an authority to speak on it. But yeah, I'm super, super excited, and it was just awesome to see Sarah. I keep getting confused because it's McNally Jackson, and it's like, keep saying Sally instead of Sarah, but her name is Sarah. In conversation with Hisham Matar. And then I also picked up his memoir. It's called The Return. It's basically about the search for his father. So his father was an activist and very vocal against the Gaddafi regime. And then I think when he was maybe in his 20s or 30s that his father sort of disappeared. And so this is sort of like a memoir of him sort of exploring that. And again, I haven't read this one either, but I picked it up and I'm super excited to read it. And yeah, the little bookmark fell out. But I also got these signed, which is really nice. And yeah, I just had an awesome time. And he's just such an inspiring person to see. Not only because of the life that he's lived, but he just approaches life and his writing with, like, I just kept thinking about like how he just approaches the world with this like childlike sense of like curiosity and inquiry, and just kept talking about his writing in a way where, you know, it's the story that wants to be told, and he's sort of attending to the story, and he's not writing, but rather he's like creating the conditions for that story to sort of emerge. And yeah, I don't know, he just sort of, it was clear to me that he just sees the world with so much care and attention and quality, and through such a like not a flowery lens, but with just tremendous depth. And you know, it's just really beautiful to see someone who's so thoughtful about life and about his work and about his relationships and the places that he's been to, and with so much humility. And I don't know, I came away feeling extremely inspired. So yeah, so of course I went and picked up both of his books, and I got to meet him, which was awesome. Yeah, so I think those are generally the books that I have and the books that I've been reading in the last 2 weeks. And let's see, is there anything else that I picked up? No, I don't think so. But yeah, anyway, so thank you guys so much for listening and watching. I know that I don't know, I'm kind of like all over the place because I didn't really plan this out too much, but really appreciate everyone who watches it. And yeah, I look forward to talking to you in the next one. And yeah, we'll see what the next 2 weeks bring, like what books, what events I go to. And yeah, just looking forward to it. And I hope everyone is enjoying the beginning of spring, new beginnings, and you know, the warmer weather if you're on the East Coast as well. And yeah, looking forward to seeing everyone in the next one. So have a good weekend, or I guess I don't know when I'm going to publish this. Probably over the weekend or maybe on Monday or something. But yeah, talk to everyone soon and enjoy.